All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today we're going to be talking about perfume in Japan. So a few months back, I made a video talking about perfume in Japan and how Japanese perceive fragrance. And if you missed that video, you can check it here. And today I'd like to introduce to you two Japanese fragrance houses. One of them is a recent discovery for me, but I'd like to introduce to you one of the fragrances that I have from that brand, as well as just give you some more information about, Japan and how fragrance is kind of perceived here. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on these fragrances, then let's go. All right, so kind of touching on the, fragrance and perfume here in Japan. So yeah, the Japanese don't really have a culture for like strong fragrances. Can you buy strong fragrances here in Japan? Yes, absolutely. From other brands, right? They sell like Maison Crivelli, Frederic Malle, MFK. Of course, they have those brands here. But in terms of actual Japanese companies, Japanese made in Japan brands, they typically don't produce like those beast mode style of fragrance. They believe in subtlety. And there's like a sense of peacefulness in that subtlety. And, that could be because Japanese aren't necessarily used to certain odors, especially coming from the body. So, I think it's kind of known that Japanese don't really give off body odor. And that could be because, maybe their bathing routine or their diet, the foods that they eat. However, what I will say is the summertime in Japan, you can definitely smell some funk. There's no doubt about that. Japanese typically don't use like very heavy deodorants like we do in the States. And sometimes many people don't even use deodorant, period. So I do think like their body odor is much less than, maybe someone like myself, like from America. But again, kind of tying that back into maybe their bathing routine or the foods that they eat, maybe that's why that is. So since they don't give off a heavy body odor, putting on a very strong fragrance that pushes out heavily is very unnatural to them. So they like to wear fragrances that obviously can blend in with like Japanese culture and obviously can work well with their own skin chemistry, but of course like Japanese have used like scent for many, many years. I mean, this goes back way back. A little interesting fact that you may not know is way long time ago, Japanese women, they would wear kimonos. And of course you can still see women wearing kimonos, but typically it's for certain types of events. Usually they don't wear just a kimono for daily kind of life interactions. Some people still do that, but it's not as common anymore. Kimono is kind of more so for like maybe a special kind of party or event or something kind of like that. But a long time ago, they used to wear kimonos every day for their daily kind of life. So what Japanese women would used to do is before they would go out, like maybe it's on a date or before they would go out in the evening, that day before, is under their kimono, they would light incense, and that incense smoke would fill up the inside of their kimono. Then the next day when they would put that kimono on, they could catch wafts of that incense, the remnants of that smoke from that incense. And that would, kind of work as like a fragrance for them. Yeah, so this first fragrance house I'd like to talk about is the house of Diser. In Japanese, you say Deiseru. So this is such a unique house. And I'm so happy that I discovered them because this house, the way that they're able to capture the culture and the essence of Japan is so impressive. And obviously they capture this in the form of fragrance. All of their perfumes are completely natural, gathered from ingredients throughout Japan and some other parts of the world. And so kind of like I said, when you wear these fragrances from this house, it brings a sense of like serenity and peace and like, I don't know, like if you've ever lived in Japan, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. But man, the way that they've been able to provide you with such vivid imagery and scent is extremely impressive. So the first fragrance that I'd like to talk about is Hanamatsuri by Desaru. All right, so this is Hanamatsuri by Desaru, or Desaru. And so Hana means flower, Matsuri means festival, so it's flower festival. And let me say that they have captured this fragrance, the imagery that they're trying to capture. So basically, they're trying to capture the essence of an old Japanese Buddhist temple surrounded by cherry blossoms. And if you've ever been to Japan, you'll know that that kind of has a very distinct smell in itself. And they have captured that perfectly in this bottle. And the smell that I get from this is like green, slightly damp, soily, a bit earthy, floral, and woody. And that's what I get. And upon initial spray with this one, you get kind of like a slight citrusy tone from this, along with a heavy blast of florals. And you get some oud at the beginning, which isn't necessarily providing a funkiness, but it's kind of like I said before, when I reference soil, it's kind of almost giving me like a slight, kind of like a dirty kind of tinge to this. But again, it's not off-putting by any means. And then kind of in the dry down, you're getting that kind of patchouli, woods, vetiver, a bit of oak moss in here too that's really starting to push forward. But all the while, you're having those kind of florals just dancing around the entire time. But man, this is such an artistic, unique, and gorgeous wear. And when I say artistic, this is the work of art in a bottle. Like I said before, the ability, to capture such imagery in scent, like vivid imagery in scent, is impressive. And all of the fragrances from this house are able to do that. Now, hold on. Now, let me say, I haven't smelled all of them from this house, but I've smelled quite a few of them. And like I said, they do a very good job of capturing visual imagery in the form of scent in their bottles. It is absolutely amazing. Now, I will say that this is unisex, but there's something about it which pushes slightly masculine for me. I don't know what it is, because this does have a heavy blast of floral. So you would think that it might lean a bit more towards the feminine side, but for me, and off my skin, this kind of comes off slightly masculine, but unisex. And when I reference kind of artsy, the art here, this is not a fragrance for mass appeal. This is a very unique smelling fragrance, but it is wearable. It is very wearable. I mean, I would wear this in the springtime with nothing less but a collared shirt on. I wouldn't necessarily wear this with like a jeans and a t-shirt. You can. I mean, you can wear what you want when you want. But for me, that's kind of, I would wear this in the springtime, probably during kind of afternoon, evening. I think this would work extremely well. But yeah, this is such an amazing fragrance, and I'm really, really excited to dive in a bit deeper into the house of Desaru, just because, man, very high quality ingredients that just come off extremely natural. There is definitely a peacefulness in the subtlety here of this fragrance, in a sense of tranquility that it brings to me personally. Man, I sprayed this on my hand earlier. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Hanamatsuri by Desaru. All right, next up, we're gonna be moving to the house of Edit H. So they're also a Japanese fragrance house. And I've left this fragrance in its original box, just so you can see. So it comes in a box like this. And this is like a Japanese style wood. And a lot of times if you buy like incense or something like that, it will come in like this style of like wood box here. So yeah, I just thought it looked really cool, and it just kind of screams Japanese to me. I just thought it was like, I was like, oshare. Oshare means kind of like attractive or like fashionable almost. So yeah, it looks really, really nice. So yeah, when you open up your box, it will come wrapped, and it'll have some other wrapping around it. But just to kind of show you what it would look like. So yeah, this is Rose Mojito by Edit H. Yeah, this is a very, very kind of interesting rose fragrance with a bit of booze and like a green tinge to it. So upon initial spray with this one, you definitely get a blast of, I get like peppermint with some lime initially is what I get, but it smells very fresh and it's quite aromatic. And then I would say after about maybe like 10 minutes or so, the rose really starts to push forward off my skin. And once that rose starts to push forward, what this fragrance kind of reminded me of when I first smelled it was Lyric Man by Amouage. I feel like it's a similar type of rose. Now, don't get me wrong. Those two fragrances, Lyric Man and Rose Mojito, are different, okay? Completely different. However, the rose that's used in Lyric Man this reminded me of the rose that was used in Lyric Man. Like I said, it's quite aromatic and very fresh green. And again, you have that slight booziness at the beginning, but that slowly starts to fade. And then when you start to push into the deep dry down, you get a heavy blast of cedar wood that really starts to push forward. But this fragrance is just very invigorating and refreshing. And it's one that you could wear, like for me, I feel like this fragrance will really shine in the spring and the summer. And that's saying a lot, considering, especially here in Japan, the summers are brutal. Humidity is just crazy. It's like you're permanently taking a shower. But a fragrance like this is just so refreshing and crisp that it will just almost make you feel extremely refreshed in that kind of nasty humidity. So I'm really looking forward to wearing this fragrance, in kind of like late spring, late spring, and then when we jump into summer, this fragrance is going to be absolutely amazing. But yeah, they've done a phenomenal job, and I haven't smelled all the fragrances from this house. Actually, this is a very recent discovery for me, but I have smelled a few of their other fragrances, and they are quite unique in there is something very elegant about them. They're, kind of like Dissera. These are moderate kind of performers, kind of referencing back to, Japanese scent and kind of what they gravitate towards, moderation, subtlety. And that's kind of what this is here. I mean, it will project off, but, again, it is subtle. But I really, really like that about this fragrance. And, I'm not always looking for like a beast mode fragrance. I would say most of the times I'm not looking for a beast mode fragrance. Don't get me wrong. I do like a fragrance that performs well. I mean, obviously you're paying good money, so you want to get performance, but I don't need that all the time. And I mean, these fragrances perform good enough for what I want them for my specific needs. But yeah, and the bottle design's pretty cool. I feel like it's a pretty chic bottle design. But yeah, this is definitely a brand that I want to dive into a bit further and explore a bit more. I did smell one of their fragrances called Yuzu something, and that fragrance smelled, it was unique. It was quite an artsy smelling fragrance. And I would say that, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I've never smelled a fragrance that smelled that bitter. It just had a heavy blast of yuzu in the top, but it was extremely bitter smelling. Not off-putting, but it'll kind of make you take a step back and be like, oh, what is this? But yeah, this fragrance here also has kind of a, like I said, it has that peppermint in here, but also has the note of spinach, which makes that quite unique to my own fragrance collection. I don't have another fragrance in my collection that contains the note of spinach. And to be honest, I don't really, maybe that spinach is adding to that green kind of vibe that this fragrance is giving off. But yeah, again, this is just a very unique smelling fragrance, but I would say that this is unisex and almost, this one pushes feminine to my nose. But I would say if you like it, if you love it, wear it. Who cares if it pushes masculine or pushes feminine, If you love it, then wear it. That's all that matters. And everybody's gonna have a different opinion, and that's okay. But just go with how you feel. That's all that matters. Yeah, this is unisex, pushing feminine to my nose, but I love it. So I'm gonna be rocking this one pretty hard in the spring and in the summertime for sure. But yeah, this is definitely a fragrance house I want to dive into a bit deeper, and one that is definitely on my radar. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Rose Mojito by Edit H. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comments section, have you tried anything from the house of Dessert or Edit H? I'd love to hear about it. All right, well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.
内側に到着です。特急成田エクスプレス2号大船新宿行きです。前より1号車から6号車が大船行き、後より7号車から12号車新宿行きです。この電車全車両が指定